All right, Coach T. Well, thanks for coming on again, and I think this is gonna be a good conversation to kind of follow up about FCA and what the program's up to. So first off, I know that you've been going all over the country. I know you just went to a big conference, was it?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the college conference, IMLCA. Always screw that up abbreviation-wise because of girls and guys. But, yeah, it was pretty amazing. All the D3, D2, and D1 coaches were all present typically. So I think we had 859 coaches that were physically present that coach in NC2A that were at that conference. Was really neat. We had a booth that we set up, and then we served breakfast, bring in speakers, and then we actually have the Peter Cohn Award that we give out to the most deserving coach for the year. This year was Joe Bresci. Coach Bresci won it. Last year was Coach Gordon out of Delphi. And then the cool thing is that the breakfast was really neat. If you're not familiar with like what happened in the Tampa Delphi game in the national championship, so 15 seconds left on the clock. Tampa's running down the field, get possession. The guy shoots, scores, coach calls timeout, right? They take the goal back. Tampa doesn't score. Delphi comes back and eventually wins the game in overtime. And believe it or not, we actually had the Tampa and the Delphi coach talking through that process of like what was going through their minds. And it was done really well. Frank Kelly did an amazing job running that conversation and balancing that because that's really hard. Right? You lose with a bad timeout. Not a bad timeout, right? How many times have you called that timeout, right? That's not a bad timeout. It just happened to bite him in the back. But really talked about how that was and the breakfast, which was pretty enlightening. And then the cool thing about that was 30 minutes after that game was over, the Tampa coach sent a text of a picture of Adelphi and Tampa on their knees praying and giving glory to God. And it was actually the Tampa player that invited the Delphi player, right? So the losing team, right, that lost that way in overtime came, and all the teams came together. And that coach from Tampa actually sent Frank Kelly a picture of it and said, hey, this is what it's about. So pretty cool to have coaches that really are more than just the game. But by the way, they're winning a lot of games. Tampa and Delphi, they won a lot. In D2. So it was a great conversation, and we had a lot of people at that breakfast, so it was really fun to be able to do that. And then afterwards, they had the major tournament for the younger kids and got to see some of our guys, got to see FCA Maryland play and do really well. Upstate had some guys there through something they were doing with Union Upstate, and so it was pretty awesome. Some of our kids actually had the opportunity to play, which was great, kind of get to see the highest level of lacrosse. And even he said, it was an eye-opening experience when he kind of texted me back, said, how did it go? He said, it was good. He said, but really it was an eye-opening experience, and it's really motivated me to step up my levels. So that's one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing here in Alabama with FCA.
That's good. Well, Coach, we got tryouts coming up here soon.
It's exciting.
So
are you ready for it? You're going to be out there. You're going to be running these drills, man.
I know. No, I'm very excited. I think we're all very excited about is it's gonna be a very competitive summer. We've got like major coaches coming in. I mean, I can't think of a better coaching staff than what you've put together right now. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be competitive. We're going to some good tournaments, and I think this year, like, I've got a fire, especially after the fall. We started to show like real competitive signs. But, it's time to push even harder, trying to push harder and trying to see, more guys. And we've talked to so many parents, but so many kids are talking about they want to go play college lacrosse, D1, D2, D3. And when they say that sparks something inside of all of us. It's like, all right, if you're serious about it, it's time to go.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing, right? God's doing some amazing things, this fall. Honestly, I think our coaches are really doing an amazing job. I'm grateful to be able to have these guys on board, from Coach Nace to both y'all, Mark and Wilson, and Ethan and Jonah and Alex and Moulton and Bond and Aiden Blizzard hopefully will be coming back. And we got a lot of other coaches we're adding to be able to meet the need for all of these teams. We're going to try, and when I say try, because what we want to do is we have two major platforms we're going to try to do with FCA. One is really the younger age groups. We're really doing a developmental kind of setup, right? So that we can kind of onboard them, make sure that we're taking care of them, making sure, one, they're having fun, two, they're in a competitive space, and three, they know that they're cared for. They're bigger than the game. And that's going to set them up long-term wise so we can avoid kind of that burnout that we see sometimes with some great players. Very athletic, but they get burned out of the game. So there's a balance to both of these. So in the younger age groups from like 35, whenever we talk about lacrosse, I know you know this, but maybe our audience doesn't. Graduating class is what we do everything in lacrosse as, right? So graduating class starting at 35, we're looking for that graduating class, 2035, all the way through 27s. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to have as many as we can get. We're looking like we're going to have a shot at 7 teams, which would be amazing. And at that younger age group is going to run from 35s to really kind of probably 32s. 31 is got a good core of players, and hopefully we'll get some more that's going to round that roster off, who's going to be extremely competitive. And we're going to send them to better tournaments as well. But that age group is going to be one where we'll stay mostly local. We'll train 2 to 3 days a week based on the week. And we're going to get them set up and prepared, one, to fall in love with the game, give them the instruction that's needed, provide extremely high coaches. The funny thing is a lot of our best coaches are coaching the younger pro teams, and that's intentional. Mark and Randy and you and people I've talked to really feel that that's a direction that we want to go, because if we can teach them really well to start them off, we're setting them up for a great future. Instead of having to come in at high school and change a lot of these things that we struggle with. And if I'm going to call it one thing, especially on the defensive side, right, where we're not learning proper technique, and then it's really difficult to get them away from it to be a really good defender. And the game's changing so fast, you know better than I am. Yep. So we want to try to provide that. The older age groups, starting around 31, 30s, we're setting our whole program up differently. It's 3 days a week of training. Along with that will be recruiting services will be provided for those players. We're going to major tournaments. So we'll be going to the Carolina Show, we'll be going to the Baltimore Open or Virginia, and then we'll probably be going to Atlanta or Charlotte based on that team's roster. We want to get them in the best ability to get seen and shown so that we can help them get recruited. To do this, we have to step up a lot of things we do. And it starts day one at the evaluations, getting the right players out, providing an environment that's competitive, fun, but we're not going to mess around. We're here to coach. We're here to play at a high level. If we don't get the rosters to do it, we won't have the team, because we really believe this is the direction we have to go. Because, like you said, we're seeing players want to get to the next level. We have to provide that, and they have to kind of see it with their eyes. Just like one of our players said, it was completely eye-opening, and it is driving me to become really good at the game. When he is a good player locally, very good, but at that level, as you guys know, it's different. Yep. Right. So that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, and I think, like, forewarning, if teams, we hear, from a lot of the kids on the teams or the dads or whatever, if they're acting like they want to get recruited and they want to, go this way. I mean, be prepared for some hard coaching and in the nicest way possible. But I mean, if you're asking us to push, like, we're going to push, and, these tournaments are going to be eye-opening, and so we want the best players, that can be a part of the team. So shifting gears just slightly, for those that don't know much about FCA, like, what makes FCA different than other programs? Because growing up, I played FCA, and it was, truly a different experience than most other lacrosse clubs.
Yeah, the thing that we really focus on is not just our coaching, not just the lacrosse aspect of it, is our culture. We want to build a space for these athletes to be able to grow, not just on the field, but off the field if they choose to. What that does, and the reason that we're so specific in that, is it's going to allow us to build trust with our players that we have to earn, and our parents, right? And that takes a little bit of time. But in the same aspect, we have to build the culture in a way that they understand team first. It's not a me ball game. Lacrosse has never been that way. You share the ball, you're going to score more. You get more assists. It helps you out. So we want to build a culture, first and foremost, that's honoring to God. We want to build the coaches up and coach the coaches. So we're bringing people in at a very high level to come down and actually coach our coaches, give them the information that's needed to help them be better at what they do, which then they can then pour into our own athletes here locally, even though they're awesome coaches. I mean, they're amazing coaches, and I'm so grateful for them. But we want to continue to step up our game for that. The ability to have regional and national programs that you have access to, that we can kind of filter into it, and some of our coaches will actually be coaching those rosters along with North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and then honestly from all over the country. So we're trying to provide this ability for our teams to be able to really move their way up the channels, which is going to give them the ability to get seen, which is going to be something that's really important. Another thing that we do is we have huddle leaders, our volunteers. We really focus on the ability to understand psychologically how to approach the game, right? And that's a huge deal. I know you've done that, and I know Mark's done that, and a lot of our coaches have done that and seen the benefits of how vastly important it is, your mindset when you step on the field, right? And you have to be able to have the proper people around you telling you the proper things, right? So that they understand when we say don't throw your arms in the air, it's not just to get recruited, right? It's really to set our mind up for success. And we can't do that unless we coach our coaches to coach them and to teach them. And that psychological aspect of it, when we come into that, is really important, along with things that we're going to add for recruiting purposes, and then connecting with all these other teams around the area. I think it's setting us up for some really cool things that we're just blessed to be able to have. What's already been done for us, we're going to use and lean into that space to help us better the program, but also offer more to the athletes and families. And so we're doing that through a process. Right now, we're continuously developing that, which I'm super excited about, because there's a lot to it, right? We're not just about lacrosse. We're not just about going to a tournament. We're about going to a really good tournament. We're about getting kids seen at the next level. We're about giving them the resources that are necessary for them to do it, because we can say it all day long, right? Words are awesome, but actions are great, right? So we're trying to get the actions to meet our words, right, which is a process. But to do that, we have to provide a lot of things. Yep. And so we're stepping that up, especially in our older age groups, is where our main focus is for them. Is we're adding resources. Training time is going to be more. We're looking at 3 days a week. And then we'll be on top of that, we'll be doing skill-specific training on other days that they can do if they choose to with our coaches, which is going to provide them the extra reps that they need for shooting and those things. The things that honestly people up in Maryland and these hotbeds and Long Island are getting on a day-to-day basis because of their high school programs, to be honest, right? They're 5-6 days a week. So we have to be able to get these reps. Yep. And to do it, we have to provide all these resources.
Yep. Yeah, and I think another, probably more on the lacrosse side, one of the most important things that I've seen with FCA so far is just in 2 years, I've seen like our practices are extremely developmental. Like we've seen guys take massive steps. We've seen teams take massive steps, and we've seen just massive improvement just on the drills, on the coaching, everything that we do. We're trying to make them better lacrosse players. And I've been on a lot of teams growing up where, we practice 1 day a week, or we don't practice at all and you show up for tournaments and you just run the tournament, and I think a huge thing is during the summers getting 3 days a week of work with great coaching. Yep. We pull a kid to the side. We're not just yelling at the whole team. We pull a kid to the side, really invest in that player, and we've seen massive improvement.
I've also seen one thing to add to that is one thing that just come to my mind is the ability for the coaches to work with each other between spaces, right? I've seen some of the coaches literally come to our other coaches and say, "Hey man, I'm struggling with this. Do you have a drill or something that you might be able to help me step in, or something's not connecting," right? And I'm sitting there watching that and I'm like, man, this is awesome, right? A lot of people are like, how dare him? He doesn't have all the pieces. No, none of us do, right? But the openness of our coach to come to another coach and be like, hey, can you show me something. And then the coach step aside on a break and be like, hey, why don't you try running this drill? And then that coach literally walked up to me and was like, dude, that was so awesome. That drill was perfect. It was amazing. I don't know why I didn't think of it. And I was like, we need to lean into each other. And the coaching staff is working together to do that, which is just going to help our level go higher, right? So it was just an interesting story.
Yeah, and one of the things, side note that we're really passionate about is seeing lacrosse in Alabama grow. And I think a lot of that starts with, when you have good players and you have good competition, you see the quality of the sport go up in Alabama. But especially working with our younger age groups to make sure that they're having a smooth transition into high school ball. And so we have really loaded the younger age groups. And we also, taught a lot of the younger coaches or the coaches of the younger age groups a lot of the drills and concepts that we're going to be doing in high school.
Yeah, it's a top-down kind of process, right? So, and we won't get into the details, but we want our kids to know a specific type of rod all the way through our program, right? Now, there's going to be different variations based on age, development, things in that nature, but we really want them to run that ride so that when they transition to high school, they're able to run a diamond or they're able to run these different types of clears with different variations and have bingo coming across. And really being able to do some things on the substitution side of it that's going to help us. But to do it, we have to start really young, right? Where that expectation is goalie saves, break. The LSM knows where he's going. 1 knows where he's going. 2 knows where he's going. 3 knows where he's going. 4, 5. So every spot knows it no matter where they are in the field. And that's going to be able to help us teach these kids like what you're saying, right? Prepare them so when they step on that high school field, they're dominating, right? They don't have this fallout and this scared of, oh my gosh, these guys are so much faster. The process is there. They're able to step up, make a bigger impact, which is going to help their development long term.
Yep. And I think another thing too is with our coaches, I'll just tell you straight up, and I know it's kind of common sense, but you've had guys that have gone to Division I, have coached at an extremely high level, have coached, plenty of players that have gone D1, and so we know what it takes to achieve that.
Right.
Like what kind of athlete you need to look like, what kind of stick skills, and so listening to those coaches, and I think if you follow the program, you're going to be successful. So, all right. So going on to the girls' game, I know that you guys have invested massively, and y'all have a lot of girls that are super bought in, and sometimes us guys coaches are pretty jealous because you guys are. Like it's going really hard.
They work, man. They work
on it.
It's competitive.
But what makes the girls program a little different than?
It's really, we try to build a culture and keep it very competitive, right? So if you were to ask the question of like, what are 3 words that you would describe the culture of the girls game right now that we have in the South program? I would say 1, fun. We try to make it a fun environment. We want the girls to really enjoy being there. A lot of the girls that we see kind of have been burned by the game or coaches, and it's not fun. And we really have to make it fun for them. We want it to be fun. So 1 would be fun. 2 is going to really honestly going to be they care about each other. And we do that through the programs we build. We intensely and very appropriately try to build a space to where we're doing more than just lacrosse. We want to make sure that they're cared for. They need to know that. They need to understand it. It takes time to build that, to be honest. But when it is built, it's something special because they care about not just themselves. They're caring about the team. They're caring about their brothers and sisters, and it's pretty sweet. It's pretty cool. And then the last one is we compete. Like practice straight up is just, we're getting after it. And we take care of each other, but this is not a place to go light. I think that's one of the problems we have in lacrosse sometimes is we fade into the space of just kind of the nuances instead of really understanding, like in ground ball specifically, with our program across the board, we want it to be a competitive space. We want to make sure there's no major cheap shots, but I want you, if you miss the ground ball, you get in the back line, you should be mad, right? You should absolutely be mad. Next ground ball, you're like a man with the hairs on fire. I'm going after the ball. I'm not doing anything cheap, but it's maximum effort, right? And the girls program, we try to build that in every practice to where we have a time where it's, hey, we're getting after it. And what's happened is it's developed. These girls have really developed. There's a lot of talent locally that people don't know. And I've been to a tournament. The last tournament we went to, we played really, really well. Went to National Cup and we won it. Shout out to the girls. They did an amazing job in a pretty big tournament, and they dominated. Now, how did they do that? It was practice. It was day in, day out. They did the reps. They stayed in a competitive environment. They worked together as a team. They weren't selfish as a team. We have 3 or 4 girls in a game that have hat tricks, right? That doesn't normally happen in lacrosse, right? Where you're seeing 6 girls scoring in a game, and 4 of them had 2. Like it's rare. And they do it because every day in, day out, our practice is structured. You're going to move the ball. We're going to take care of it. We're going to play high-level lacrosse as best we can, and we're going to compete. And what that does, it creates an atmosphere for these girls to really step up and do some amazing things. And they've been doing a great job.
Love it. Coach, one more question we had, kind of more about FCAs. Like, we can talk about it again. What is say we have some amazing player, and he's, in middle school or something like that. What are the resources that FCA provides to help that kid be on the fast track to get in front of coaches?
Yeah, the first is, and we keep going back to this, but it's our coaches, our huddle leaders, and our volunteers that provide so many resources at practice and off of practice, which sets them up for success, which we want that to happen. The second thing is we want to get them in front of the right coaching, right? And we have the pipeline to be able to do that now. So we've got to go to the venues where the coaches are. All right. 2, we got to get these guys to where they have the opportunity to play with players at a high level so that they can see really where they are, right? So a lot of times you see guys locally and they step up and they do an extremely good job at a high level and have extraordinary success from Alabama. And then you see some of the kids that are absolute animals here locally. They get in that environment and it's kind of a wake-up call, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea to move this fast. It's given me a passion to get better, which is going to help that young man out or the girl out, right? But they don't know until they get seen. So that's one of it. The recruiting side of it is real important. They need to have an account where all their video, everything, all the coaches can pull it. They can track who's looking, where they're looking. As a coaching staff, we can follow and find out, hey, he's telling us, hey, we're sending emails out to them at tournaments. Well, now the coaches can see it.
Yep.
Right? What is that? That brings accountability, right, for these players. And then that's where you kind of see the kids who really do want to do this and the ones who just say they want to do it, right? Yep. Which is really, really important for us as coaches because we want to pour into players that want to get better.
Yep.
We don't want to see words. We want to see actions. And part of that in the recruiting side of it is you have to be willing. You have to reach out to some of these coaches. I hear day in and day out, like I was at that conference, half these players never emailed me. So why am I going to go watch them? I have to see 42 kids in one time slot. What differentiates you from another? If you never emailed the coach, why would you go, right?
Yep.
So they have to do that. But that account will allow our coaches and me and as a director to be able to see kind of what's going on with them. And then also we reach out as coaches and as directors to be able to actually, hey, look at this young man. I think this kid's got a good he's a good showing. Can you give me an evaluation on this young man? Where do you think he sits?
Yep.
Right? And that gives us direct feedback to be able to help this young man or young lady get to the next level. So we're really trying to move in that direction as well, along with film and things in that nature.
Yep. And there's nothing, period, that makes me more happy or I'm more passionate about when it comes to coaching lacrosse than seeing guys get placed at, great colleges.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Flat out. I mean, that is why we coach. That's why we're tough on the players. That's why we, expect a lot from the players.
Oh, yeah.
But it takes work. It takes listening. It takes having those wake up calls. I think one of the best things for us and a lot of guys that have gone on to the play college is having that wake up call. And so, if you're listening to it right now, number one is play this summer, see how you do, because we are going to competitive tournaments. If you shine there, then you get put on, a national team or, the FCA South team. And then you just continue from there. And I think we've got plenty connections to make that happen.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, some of our directors and other programs have actually stepped up for our players. specifically with the girls. We had 3 of our girls last year locally that went and played on the national team at Lake Placid. And I reached out to the coach there and said, how did our girls do? And it was pretty cool. I'm just going to be honest. It was pretty cool to have her respond and be like, you don't have good players, you have great players. These players can absolutely go. And I'm going to help them in their recruiting process as well. And she has. And so that's a neat thing to be able to have, right? So we're doing that with the guys. We're trying to do that with the guys. Just as a heads up, to be honest, we are rebuilding our national program at the national level, which means we're going to do it like when you played. We're going after the top 50 players in the country.
Sick.
And that's it.
Dang.
And so, so if you are one of those players, right, or you're a guy who can play with those guys, we're going to go after you. And I say that so that's the reason we have the Southeast team, like what you're talking about, right? Is that gap to where we can play at a really, really, really high-end tournament, right? But it's our FCA guys as a whole. To give you that national level scene, it isn't made up of just FCA players. The national team is made up of the best players in the country that we can go after. We put together a list as a overall club. All the directors, some of our coaches have input, and we get this list from USA Lacrosse, and we're going through the right things, and we're going after players at this level. So we're making a real pivot to that again, which is really cool because we want to go and compete with the number 1 teams in the country, and which they've done and have done, and we want to get to that level, especially in the guys, and the girls program is growing. So it's pretty exciting. And Glenn Mills is our director, who, I don't know if you know Glenn, played at Navy, Top Gun pilot. I believe he's the only guy to ever be an All-American as an attack player, and then his senior year moved into midi and was an All-American his second year at a midfield.
Shoot.
So he's kind of directing us, leading the charge with Drew and some of the other guys. So super excited.
That's beast. All right, Coach, we got a couple Q&A questions from our parents and other players.
Exciting.
So
these are always fun.
Exactly. So first question. So while I want my boys to excel in lacrosse and stay competitive, I worry about burnout. What is the program doing, and what can we do at home to keep the fun while still fostering a strong work ethic?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome question, and I think we talked about it a little bit briefly ahead of time. The key thing is, one, they have to have fun, right? They have to love the game. And part of our job as a coach is not just to teach them the X's and O's, but to teach them, hey, this is a fun game. And the harder and the better we can play it, the more honor we bring the game, right? It kind of goes back to what it was first called, the creator's game, right? And for us, that's a big deal. So one, we got to keep it fun. Two, we also help with burnout by providing other resources like our huddle leaders. They're able to speak into these kids and make sure that they know that they're bigger in the game, right? Because you've played at a high level, your brother and a lot of the guys we played with have played at a high level, but they all come back to it at the end of it and be like, the game is amazing, but it does fail you because it gets to a point where you don't play it, right? And so if all my value is only in that game of lacrosse, once we get to that point where I'm feeling burned out, you lose the passion to do it, which means you don't want to be there anymore, right? So our biggest thing is, one, we want to make sure we're having fun. Two, we do that because we do things off of lacrosse, like dodgeball tournaments, right? I know that sounds cheesy and stupid with the young kids. They love that, right? They come together, they're friends, and we provide an atmosphere that they can just put the sticks down, and we actually just play dodgeball, bring Chick-fil-A, talk to the kids, and at the end of dodgeball, we can go through skull sessions where we're on a whiteboard and things like that. So we're not just avoiding the lacrosse aspect of it. We want to make it to where they realize, hey, you're more important than the game. The game's really cool. We want you to love the game. We want you to have the game, right? So we want to provide that. And things that we're looking to do as our program grows, specifically speaking into how do we do that, not just with the kids, but with the family. One of the things that's happened with a lot of our programs is they do things outside of that, like a parent date night, to where we would love to be able to get to this point where we take care of all the kids. We get them at a facility and we're training them, or we're doing dodgeball or doing something else, and then they go and have a date night, right? Providing resources for the parents as well to get away. We want to be more than just the game. and that's going to help set that player up long-term wise, we believe, by doing these things and these resources and keeping an open mind with our coaches, right? That sometimes when kids come to the game, they got a lot coming, and every once in a while we have to pull them aside and get them with a huddle leader, and it's okay to practice here or there, right? To where whatever it is, they're able to talk, they're able to work through it, and if they're able to get back on the field, great. If they're not going to get punished by our coaches, right? What they're going to do is they're going to see a space of, hey, I understand that. This is not a normal thing. Let's give you a little space, right? If you don't feel like it right now at this exact moment, let's get it away. What does that teach them? Hey, we're now following with what we're telling you, right? And I've had it with our own coaches, believe it or not. Coaches have a lot of stuff that go on in their lives, and they've called me and been like, dude, I got a lot of stuff going on. And we tell them straight up, don't come to practice. Right, we'll get it covered and we'll take care of it. What that does, it protects our coaches, right? Just like we want to protect these players, we want to protect our coaches, we want to protect our families. We don't want burnout. We want you to love the game and have that same passion for the game is more valuable because you're able to pour in what you got.
Yep. Yeah, and I think another thing that I would add on to that is I think the most fun playing lacrosse is when you're with other people that enjoy the game, and so I think, you know, if you're at home or you want to go to the fields or whatever, like, don't make it I have to do this. Make it a fun, like, you're investing in relationships. Like, I get a group of guys and I go out and shoot. Like, there's nothing more fun than that. Like, I don't want to just be, you know, banging my head against the wall, just trying to throw on the wall all day. Also, making sure that you're enjoying practice. So, you know, go work on, you know, balancing the ball on your sidewall, or going and trying behind the backs, or going and trying some weird shots, you know, vary it up, try to become creative, you know, cradle around the house and like split dodge on trees, like whatever it is, just go do a bunch of random stuff. But the more your stick is in your hands, the better you're going to be flat out.
Yep.
It really is that simple. You know, if you're just, you know, throwing around, throwing BTBs, throwing underhands, you know, throwing sidearms, you know, go find some crazy trick that you saw online. Go try that. Yep. You know, but the more relaxed, the more, you know, we can have fun, the more we can play with other people. I think that definitely helps. So Coach, so how do you integrate faith into the program without it feeling forced or performative?
Yeah, that's a deep one, right? This is where it gets to the meat of kind of why we do what we do. First and foremost, everybody and anybody is welcome into our program, right? Whether you believe what we believe or not, we want to make sure that that environment is set up in a way that you feel welcome and cared for, first and foremost. We want to create an atmosphere where you're able to speak your mind in an appropriate way. Saying that, we don't back off of saying what we believe as well, right? We use this as a tool to be able to minister into kids' lives and parents and coaches' lives, and we've seen some incredible things come out of that. But it is one of those things you have to really make sure that everybody and anybody is welcome in our program, no matter where you're at, and we have that. You know, about 33% of our players and families are very devout believers. They you know, they're attending church, and then about 30% go to church, you know, and they like what we do. And then there's about 30% that they're not there at all for any of this, right? What they are there for is lacrosse. And we want to make sure we're providing that high level lacrosse for them. But we also want to make sure they leave knowing we care about them no matter where they're at, right? And we try to live and act our faith out with everybody and anybody that we touch. But we do want it a space where they do feel comfortable. But saying that, on the flip side of it is, we are going to speak about what we believe. We do believe in the gospel and the Bible. It's not a Catholic or Baptist or Protestant. You know, it is literally, we want to do what is right scripturally, and to lead that way. We want to make sure everybody feels welcome. Kind of one of the best compliments we get is when a player comes up and is like, hey, I thought I couldn't play with you guys because I don't believe the way you believe. And I was like, why? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, we'd love to have you. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, come on. We'd love to have you. You know, and then they experience it and like, I didn't know that, right? And maybe that we need to do a better job of explaining that, I think, probably. That's partially my fault. But on the flip side of it is, yeah, we want this thing to be fun for all, right? We want to get as many people involved as possible. We want to make sure that they know, hey, if you're here for lacrosse, let's freaking do lacrosse. If you're here for a little more, let's do it all, right? And let's be on a team that works together and has fun, and the coaching staff.
I love it. Coach, what kind of athlete struggles the most in FCA lacrosse, and what kind thrives?
Okay, I'll do the struggle first, and you're going to kick in. I'm going to ask you to kick in on this to bounce off of it, right? So I think the kid in FCA that struggles the most would be someone that struggles taking responsibility. We really do talk about that quite a bit, right? Where, hey, just take responsibility for your actions, right? Do what's the best thing for the team. And that's not easy, right? That's really, really hard to be able to be like, well, I'm here to play lacrosse. Yeah, you're here to play lacrosse, but so is your other teammates. So are your coaches. So make sure that you are, one, coachable. That's the first criteria, to be honest. If you're not coachable, you're probably going to struggle with us, to be honest. And that's partially because we demand our coaches to coach, not daycare. This is not a daycare service, okay? We're going to take care of the kids and the athletes and the players, but do not think for a second we are here to be babysitters. We are not. We are here. Our coaches have high demands on them. Even more is coming to where they're going to have to go through how do you coach training through FCA and some other things. Through 360 coaching and some of these other things that we do for us through FCA, it's now going to be required for our coaches. It's not a huge load, but it is something to talk about. What's your why for coaching, right? And we're demanding that of our coaches, and we're demanding excellent out of our coaches. And they, in turn, are demanding excellent out of our players. We care, and we want to take care of them. But if you're not coachable and you don't want to get better, go somewhere else. Like, we're not here for numbers. We're here to put teams on the field that want to compete. And if we don't have the numbers, we won't have a team. And I strongly, strongly, strongly believe in that, because I believe that's where God wants us to be. God wants us to pour into that space. That's what I believe. It is not a babysitting service. It is not a 50-50 playing time at club space. We are here to coach, to develop every single athlete that steps on them, whether they're the best player or the worst player on that team. We're here to develop them. But it doesn't mean it's 50-50 playing time. It is not a babysitting service. I do not ask my coaches to go through all this training to be a babysitter. I ask them to go through this training to be a great coach, to be able to pour into our kids who want it, which then and therefore is going to create a better program and create a driven expectation of people from all over the area coming to it because they want excellence. That's the first thing. So I think that that's going to be the struggle. The people who succeed really well are the exact flip side. Very coachable. Typically, they work outside of practice, to be honest. They're physically developing. They're not just doing just lacrosse. There comes a point where we do have to get stronger, faster. Those things all correlate. We can't be a great lacrosse player if we're not physically there. You can see that in the tournament I went to this past weekend in Orlando. Everybody out there is an athlete. Now, they're the best players in the country, right? But they're all athletes. They're freaking all of them. And so you do have to do both sides of it. So those players that come in and really enjoy the game, love the game, coachable, doing the reps outside of practice, those are the kids that really thrive in our environment, to be honest. Kids that don't thrive in our environment are the ones that just, they're out there, they're screwing around. They say, I just want to have fun, but they're not willing to be a good teammate.
Yep.
They're going to struggle in our environment.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. And, you hear all this coach speak about being a good teammate and like having a good attitude and all this stuff, but it's actually the most important thing to know who's going to thrive and who's not. But it's like having a good attitude. It's having fun is a big one. Like, let's go out and have fun, because the more fun you have, the more you want to do things outside of practice, the more that you're going to invest in your teammates. You're going to invest in yourself when you are on the field, the harder you're going to try. So that's a big thing. So on to that point, what character traits do you value more than stick skills, and why?
No, these are come on, man. Parents are trying to hammer me on these. It's pretty good. What are the values that for me is, the work ethic, that's there, and then the care, right? It's not about themselves. Like, they get a lot out of it, of course. We want to be that way, right? We want to be competitors. We want to do things really well. But the understanding of, like, me by playing really well is going to help Wilson play really well. And then, therefore, Wilson's going to help me play really well. And suddenly what we have is because of that, we have a multiplier, not an adder, right? 1 + 1 is 2, right? 2 + 2 is 4, right? 4 times 4, though, isn't 8, it's 16. Right? And that's what happens on a field when you have players that are out there and they got a high skill set, right? And those same players are the same thing where I get it to Wilson. And I'm like, hey, Wilson, dude, right now we got to win this game. I'm going to clear through, dude. And then if you pull a double or a triple, I'm going to hopefully be floating or fading or whatever I'm going to be doing so I can get the ball and I can go, right? But, hey, I know this dude can win me the game. I'm going to make sure that happens. I'm going to be that selfless player. Do what's responsible to do that. That's a cool thing. When you see that happen, it's pretty amazing, to be honest. And those are the teams you want to be on, right? And you win games that way that you shouldn't win. So I don't know if that answered it. I kind of went off again. I go all over the place.
No, I think it's great. I mean, I think guys definitely need to look at themselves and make sure that they're who they need to be when it comes to lacrosse. Because I mean, if you coast, people are going to pass you. And if you have goals or ambitions to, be X player, like there are steps you've got to take to be there. And also too, on the recruiting side, every team that I've seen at the D1 level generally, well, let's say D1, there may be some D3s that don't have a great culture, but I mean, the teams that I've seen, the guys are bought in. Their teammates, they're yelling for each other. They're working like that. The standard, you talk about football. The standard at these programs at the next level, and especially at the strong high school level across the country, the standard's insane.
Yeah, it's
nuts. And you may be used to some guys like screwing around at practice, or you may be the only ball picker upper, but there are teams out there that are savage. They're getting after it. They're working outside of practice. They're going out with their teammate, throwing on the wall. Those are the type guys that we love, and we will invest everything into those guys. And I'm thinking of a couple guys specifically with the high school and the 29s team that I was a part of last fall. But those guys that wanted more, I mean, holy cow! I would do anything to help those guys. And on top of that, we saw massive improvement.
It was massive. It was huge, right? Like, I mean, it was kids that you don't even know who they are.
Yep.
Right, from one season to the other, and because they were putting in the work.
Yep.
Right, not just in practice, but out of practice, and they loved it. It wasn't a point where they're like banging their head against the wall. They seemed to really, really enjoy it, and they had a smile on their face, right? And that's the secret to not getting burned out. You know what I mean? That's the secret to love. Hey, man, I actually really like practice.
Correct.
This is crazy, and then have a coach be like, hey, man, you've gone 5 days. You need a day or two off. Like, take it a little break. It's okay.
Yep.
But, hey, by the way, on Monday, we're getting after it.
Yep.
And so the culture is a big thing. I think one of the best things that we had one of our coaches he was coaching in high school. I was on the sideline, and they were down. This team was down, right? And he asked if he could talk to the team really quick on a timeout. I said, absolutely, right? So get the team together, and he literally gets down and he says this one comment, and it struck me, and it was a proud moment for me, honestly. And he said, every one goal at a time. If we do this, we will break them. And he goes, do you want to know why we're going to break this team? And they all looked around. One guy was like, why? He said, because they're not family. Once they get down, they're going to break, and we will win this game. That's awesome.
That's sick.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally got goosebumps, and I'm like, woo, man, I'm so glad this guy coaches with me. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there like, this is amazing. This is exactly what we want, right? Is that he gets it, right? He played at the college level. He's been involved in it. And it was one of those moments where he was a younger coach, right? But man, he spoke beyond his age. At that moment, I was like, he's speaking to me. I was like, this is awesome. Right? Check, I'm going to remember this one and I'm pulling this one out. Right? And I was like, we're going to beat them. And it was like just total confidence, right? In that ability to just be like, all we got to do is one at a time, right? Once we get them, if we can get them down, this team will break because they are not family and we are.
Yep.
And that's one of the biggest things, right? Is build that culture like that and teams flourish, right? You're still going to lose games, right? It's not a recipe to win every game. That's not what I'm saying. But you'll win more than you should because we do have some cultures that we're working on that sometimes it gets where we get down a little bit and they start fighting amongst themselves. If we can change that culture a little bit to where instead of doing that, we lean into each other, right? Suddenly we swing that trigger and suddenly now it's a complete flip. And it has to do with just leaning into our players, trusting our players. Hey, just keep hammering one goal at a time, one goal at a time, one goal at a time. And our coaches are doing an amazing job doing that. And we're seeing that slowly change with our teams because we got a long ways to go.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. All right, so we'll wrap it up with this. But I want to throw this in here because it's the $1 million question all of us coaches are always talking about. But it's like, how do you get guys to go practice outside of normal practice? You know, how do you get guys to develop great stick skills, become great athletes, you know, really train in lacrosse? And I think I just came up with an answer.
All right, what is it? So, you got to do it, man.
I think one is having fun practicing. So it's messing around with the stick. It's, you know, training in the off season. It's whatever. It's enjoying the process of becoming a good lacrosse player and being disciplined there. But also, when you do that and you become a good lacrosse player, there is nothing more fun than being the best player on the field. I don't think there's anything more fun. I think if you're running one-on-ones in practice and you show back up and you're, you know, cooking everybody, you're running right by them, you're able to, you know, wrap around shot, you know, the goalie can't even see the ball. You know, if you're a defender and you're, you know, taking the stick out of guys' hands, you know, you're scoring goals, you're destroying people on face-offs, there's nothing more fun. And that just continues to compound. But, you know, if you talk to me, I'm Mr. like get really excited and go try something as hard as I can, and then I'm not very consistent, and then I fall off. You know, if I'm not having the only way for me to stay consistent at something is if I'm enjoying it.
Yep.
And so that's what I would recommend is, you know, even if, you know, you're not enjoying the game right now, look at yourself and just tell yourself, I'm going to enjoy the game. I'm going to go enjoy this, you know, practice session in my backyard, this shooting session, and just train yourself to enjoy it. Because I'll say this last thing. Mark Han, my brother's friends that he played with at UNC, there were two twin brothers, and they loved lacrosse. So they would go out in the backyard and shoot every day. They'd play against each other. They'd try crazy shots, and then they end up going to UNC. Yep. You know, and they're just phenomenal lacrosse players, and they still enjoy the game. They're still coaching. That's why I'm still coaching, because I enjoy the game.
Yeah, and I've got something to kind of pivot from that. Frank Kelly is an unbelievable man. His whole family, they're amazing, right? When we were at this conference just 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, actually, he made a comment that kind of struck me, right? So he tells his own story about like what he went through when he was in high school and college and where it really turned for him. And it was something that struck me because he said in the midst of the struggle, he really turned to God and started just being grateful, right? He was he was just frustrated, right? Really, really frustrated with where he was. And he got to a point, hope I'm not destroying this, Frank. I don't want to overtalk, but where he basically said, I started just having an attitude of gratitude. And what happened was I was just thankful to be on the field at Princeton, right? And then suddenly what happened was that attitude, when he got on the field, things just started clicking and he kind of took over. And like he looks back and is like, you know, having an attitude of really just being grateful to be on the field, grateful to be able to be out here and get these reps, grateful to play a teammate that's really good, that makes it really hard for me to play, right? That's a total mind shift from oh my gosh, Wilson, I can't stop him. He's impossible to stop. Or Mark, he's impossible to start. Or Jonah, or whoever that player is, right? He's impossible. Instead, have that attitude of, dude, if I can stay with this guy, I'm just thankful I can be on the field with this guy. And suddenly what happens is there's a lot of things that happen, not just there neurologically, but mentally and physically that happens. When we have that attitude, suddenly our levels go from like here up a lot of times, right?
Yep.
So that's like leaning into like what you said. You got to have fun. You know, like even have fun when you mess up.
Yep.
And that's not making an excuse for messing up, right? We want to make sure we're doing things well. But on the flip side of it is like, well, I learned what not to do. I'm going to move on, right? That attitude is incredibly difficult to squash.
Yep.
And you can see it when you see a kid out there that's playing and they're realistic, but they're also just like, God, that sucked. I missed the ground ball. But man, I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it. Next time I'm going to get the ground ball.
Yep.
I'm looking forward for that next rep. And that's where you set yourself up for success and not getting burned out, really developing those programs. So, yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah. And I'll finish here. But, and that's one thing that we do that I really try to do as a coach at FCA is the practices need to be fun. We need to be light. Like we want this like light spirit where we're just, loose and we're having fun. But at the same time, we've got discipline. We've got massive buy-in. So when I call for ground balls, when we call for a ball hunt, everybody's going to get balls. Everybody's like doing what they need to be doing, but we're having fun at the same time. And I think that's where you see major growth. And I think it's proved itself. As we've had a great time at FCA for the past, 3 years, 4 years. How long has it been?
Yeah. Well, in Alabama, 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. 3 years. So, we're looking forward to it. I think it's awesome. I think I'm super excited. We'd love to have you come out for tryouts or evaluations. We need players. We're looking for players. High school coaches, if y'all want to reach out to me or anybody that's involved in our program to figure out, hey, what are we really about? I'd love to get on the phone, talk to you about what we're really about. How do we want to do our development? How do we do in our curriculum through lacrosse and outside of lacrosse and training camps and things like that we're doing this summer for our teams. And we're talking about going to Wilmington, North Carolina, and meeting up with a lot of FCA teams. And we're going to actually have a training camp there, right? How awesome is that? Now we're talking about like coaches from all over the country coming to one site, and we're training and playing against each other and it's the same club. Pretty cool.
Yep.
It's a lot of travel and it is a lot of demand, but I think what we're going to get out of doing things like that is better teams across the board.
Yep.
Better players, more recruitment, more connections, and a lot of fun doing it.
Good. Well, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
We'll see.